I'm Tina Nabhan. I'm the owner of Public Service Adjusting, and more recently, the CEO of Worldwide Adjusting. We have merged, so that's super exciting.
I'm Nedal Nabhan. I'm a public adjuster, but I also own Great Lakes Contracting, and I'm pretty much here to be Vanna White.
You might be Vanna White. So we were in Nedal.
Oh, sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
for those that didn't get it.
Yeah. He helped with the slideshow. Okay. Anyway, so when I went to boot camp years ago, I think I was brand new. I thought I was a PA. Let's just say that. I was licensed in the state of Indiana. That's it. I went to work for a company. And as soon as I got there, I realized they were breaking every law I learned about. So we were looking for help and ended up in the boot camp. You can move on. All right. So we go to boot camp, and this is not the slide I thought it was. Okay. So if you have been to boot camp, you know the process that we're talking about. If not, you've heard about it all day in here. So process, documentation, having a process, all of those things. The way I learned to be a public adjuster is I worked for a contractor/public adjuster person. He was an entrepreneur that just owned all kinds of businesses. And he taught me everything wrong, all the wrong reasons to do this, and it was just awful. So very quickly I learned a public adjuster has the right and responsibility to represent policyholders during the insurance claims process. A public adjuster is an advocate for the policyholder and only the policyholder. A public adjuster has a duty to ensure that all duties after a loss, as stated in the policy, are fulfilled. Those people never even got policies. I had never read a policy before I went to boot camp, which is super weird. A public adjuster is not a supplementer. A public adjuster is not a get X amount per square and move on, and it is not a reason to get your name on the check. Public adjusters have a lot more rights and responsibilities than people even know. I didn't know. Like, I absolutely didn't know. And you don't know what you don't know, right, Steve Patrick? So I had a lot to learn, and I just didn't know I did. All right. You want to talk?
Sure. We attended the boot camp down in Texas, and we learned a lot. And while we were there, we learned a lot about Texas law and how great it is. And then we came back home to the Midwest and realized we don't have awesome laws like they do in Texas or Louisiana. So we came here and we're like, how do we figure this out? So we ran the process and realized, holy cow, we don't know anything because we haven't done all the things that you guys just learned in boot camp, right? So the first thing we did was realize we didn't know, and who do we reach out to? So actually we were able to find a local attorney that was willing to sit there and talk to us. That local attorney is this man right here.
Sitting in the
Oh yeah, he's sitting right there. His name's Anthony Ashford. He'll talk to you later. But he was willing to sit down with a couple that was trying to build a public adjusting company and teach us the laws so that we could take the public adjuster boot camp way and make it something a reality for where we lived. And the laws in which that we had to work within the Midwest. So that was just a huge thing for us. You've already heard reading and understanding the insurance policies and inserting timelines from statutes within the policy into your process. I'm sure you've heard the Texas timelines and you've heard Louisiana timelines, but the timelines here in the Midwest are substantially different, and some of them are almost non-existent. So build your process accordingly, and build your process with timelines and automation.
Okay. So yeah, when we got home from boot camp, we were so pumped. Like, we were ready to rock and roll and make millions and all of that. And then we ran into some issues. So number one, prompt and reasonably prompt is the timeline in the state of Indiana. What does that mean? It's actually defined as 14 days. But we went to our attorney. He gave us an answer. We called the DOI. They gave us a different answer. They actually didn't know. They literally did not have an answer, nor did they say they would find one for me. And then, back to reading the policy. Everything goes back to the policy all the time. So again, you're gonna take the statutes in your state, any state you're working in, and you're gonna take the policy, and you're gonna use those timelines, and that's how you're gonna make a process. The other issue, filing DOI complaints. I could not wait to file DOI complaints. We were super excited. We put a ton of time and effort into it. We learned how to do it. We were so excited. I mean, I was so proud the day that I sent my first complaint. So proud. And then I got slapped down back into reality because every single complaint comes back and says this: we're not a regulatory body. Thanks for the complaint. The carrier will respond. Have a nice life. So it was in our process for a minute, and then it takes a lot of time. We didn't have time for that. And then we decided it's important. So yeah, they're not gonna do anything, but it is important. It's just another step in the process, and it's another piece to the puzzle for the homeowner. So we continued on the process. All right, the other issue. Luckily for us, again, we had local counsel who was willing to work through and with anything for us. He's still settling a couple, god-awful cases that I started back then that he has been kind enough to finish. But attorney fees are not necessarily automatic. And the reason is, it hasn't been a big deal up here. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have earthquakes. We don't have wildfires. We have hailstorms. We have hailstorms. And after working in the South, after working in CAT areas, I almost understand why the adjusters laugh at us sometimes. Like, really? Just a hail? But anyway, the battle hasn't been fought up here. It hasn't been fought collectively, and it needs to be fought. I'm super thankful everyone's up here. I hope people come up north more often. We work in a lot of states up here, and they're all exactly the same. So super glad everyone's up here. All right, you can talk about the contractor stuff.
Are there any contractors left in here? Oh, sweet. Thanks, guys. So I've been a contractor, and obviously working with public adjusters, especially really good ones, right? Have made me open my eyes to like what I can do to help the process and help the homeowners, right? And mostly that's almost the same path as public adjusters and attorneys. Like if you're not working with your attorneys and with your public adjusters to be like, hey, how can I make this process a little bit better and smoother on my end, right? And like Steve was saying, how do you come to an agreement with an adjuster as a contractor right there, catching more bees with honey kind of thing. And getting it so that you already know that the insurance company has calculated risk and they're gonna say the things that they're gonna say. Well, I just use that against them now. Like, okay, that's fine, I appreciate it, then we move on to the next thing. And then I just give all of that information over to my public adjuster or my attorney and say, hey, this is the documentation that I have, help me out here, okay? And that has helped me be able to run a successful contracting company where I'm not having to deal with, well, this is the money that's left over for you to use, and good luck, because everyone's already taken their cut.
All right, so the solutions. The process, a lot of us went and learned the process. You have to come home and make your process. Melanie's not gonna come there and type it up for you. You have to have an actual process that you follow all the time. Ours did start at boot camp, but it didn't stop there. Every single class and conference that I have been to, there is a piece of it in my process. Whether it was something to do or something not to do. I have attended, there's a lot of speakers in this room. I've been to a lot of classes, And, you know, if any one of you, you know, Steve, Patrick, Merlin, all these people were to go look at my process, things at VACO has said, you will find pieces of what you said that are in my process. So continue your education, educate yourself, educate your staff. You know, this is a game of chess. They are always growing and changing and learning, and you have to do the same thing to keep up. Setting your standards, that's very important. Go back.
Is it?
Setting your standards, setting them high. Back again, starting with education again. So recently in the state of Indiana, Michigan, et cetera, they actually took away continuing education requirements. There is no class for public adjusters. It's like find a friend that knows the answers to take the test, et cetera, which is good because we now have someone who helped write the test on our staff. However, there's no educational requirements. They want to keep you stupid. They absolutely want to keep you stupid. And I remember on Level the Playing Field, that's where I found out they actually got rid of the standards, and there was a couple of guys like super excited about that. Absolutely not. Everyone in my office has taken the IA course to become a public adjuster because there's no public adjuster class. So, you know, we have standards. Set your standards, set them high, stick to them.
Okay.
Keep going? Okay.
Yeah,
Your process. When you make it, write it down and stick to it. Every single claim. Business record. Business record. 25,000, 25 million, same thing every day, all day. It never stops. Ask anyone in my office. It's like a broken record. And the way you can do that is with staff and automation, which we'll talk about that in a little bit. All right. Setting everything up for success. So the six outcomes. Someone talked about the 6 different outcomes of a claim. By the time it gets to us, there's usually about 3 outcomes left. We spend a significant amount of time preparing our homeowners all the different outcomes that could happen. We don't want anyone to be surprised. It can be a long, grueling, frustrating, complicated process that they don't understand. So we spend a lot of time up front preparing them for how this could possibly go, all the different options. We have gone as far as to put it in writing. Along with our contracts, we write it all out. We have 5 pages of claim process information and frequently asked questions because 6 months down the road when everyone is stressed out and pissed off, they might say, you never told me that. So that's just something that we do up front. We go through it and they initial it that we did discuss it. So the less surprised they are, the better it's gonna go for everybody. And do not make promises you can't keep. Do not go out like, I will get your roof paid for, I will get your fire taken care of, I will do this, I will do that. You can say, your best chance is with me. This is why. This is the staff I have. This is the experience I have. This is the education that I have. There are no guarantees. The best attorney in the room will tell you there are no guarantees. Don't make promises you can't keep.
So on that note as well, like she just said, one of the things that we do that is actually really successful for us with this, when she talks about like informing the clients of, hey, these are the possibilities, when we do that, we also use a system that allows our clients to actually read some of our notes that we're putting in there after we've talked to adjusters or emails and things like that. So a lot of times what will happen is when we explain to them or over-explain to them the process, what happens is some of them that do it will go into their file and read things and be like, oh my gosh, you said this would happen, and now I'm watching the adjuster do what you just said they did. Yeah. And that essentially calms the client down, but it also makes a client for life. And it also makes all of their neighbors call you and all of their church members call you because now they trust you. And if you gain their trust, it's going to be something that you have for a really long time. We're always preparing for litigation from day one. And we say we're going to, fight for clients as if their life depended on it. Sometimes it really does, especially in situations down in Florida now, right? I mean, we have people's houses that are literally falling into the ocean. Everything is gone. So whether it be fires, hurricanes, floods, sharknadoes, monster hail, it all happens. God, not a single laugh out of sharknadoes. Thank you.
I'll laugh at you.
Thank
I'll
you.
always laugh at you. So with that, if you've noticed my logo, wherever it is, so a lot of us have a background in public service, nursing, teaching, et cetera, et cetera. I will tell you that, a lot of people get into this with a roofing company, selling roofs, doing this, going out to make money. But I promise you, if you go to other things, if you go to total loss house fires, if you go to catastrophe areas, it's a whole different mood. And yeah, there's a ton of money to be made. Why else would we be here, right? But I'll tell you, these people did lose their entire life, and they go through stages of grieving like they lost a family member. And you're gonna have to go through it with them as a public adjuster and as their advocate and someone that they're gonna call a lot. They are gonna call a lot, and they're gonna go through everything. They're gonna go through anger and bargaining and denial and acceptance, and they're gonna go through it multiple times. So just keep that in mind. All right, from day one, you are preparing for litigation in hopes not to get there, but you are preparing for litigation. And this is what it means about the process. What is your process? How is it documented? Can I defend this in court? Court meaning deposition or actual court. So do you have a process, or are you just winging it? Like she said, are you doing one thing this way one day and this way another day? Do you treat the $10,000 claim different than the $10 million claim? Or do you have an actual process? You have to have a process. Is it written down somewhere? Whether it's a Google Drive link or it's in some sort of tech, it has to be documented and it has to be accessible because they can subpoena those things. So, yep. Same thing. It's going to be like a broken record. Inspection and documentation of damages. What is your process? How is it documented? Can it be defended? Estimating. Same thing. What is your process? How is it documented? Can it be defended? What are people's credentials that are doing it? Corresponding with the carrier. What is your process? How is it documented? How can I defend this in court? Every person up here has said this. Be professional 100% of the time. If you want to be treated, respected, paid like a professional, you have to act like one 100% of the time. As a newer public adjuster, I thought I got in some good emails. I was like, man, that was good. And then I had to sit with Mr. Ashford, and he's like, oh God, why did you say that? And then I never did it again. So be professional 100% of the time. Timelines, you impose. You make the timelines. You set up your automation. You decide, what's prompt and reasonably prompt. You set it in your process. Make it reasonable, make it professional. When we send something to the carrier and then someone calls to confirm it, that's fine. If we don't hear from them within 14 days, we move on to step B. If we do this, we don't hear from them, we move on to step C. You set the process. You don't need the state to do it for you. You can do it and it works. All right, document everything. Everything. Whatever system you use. It doesn't matter if it's the least advanced. It doesn't matter if you use Dropbox or Google Drive. It doesn't matter. I use Job Nimbus. They should send me another t-shirt for saying that. Job Nimbus, emails, phone conversations, recordings. Indiana is a one-party state. We record everything. When we go to adjuster meetings, we have this little keychain. Looks like a keychain. We're actually recording. So we do record everything. Please check with your attorney and state laws before doing the same. But they've definitely been beneficial. He with the most paperwork wins. That has to do with your business record. Okay, All right, How many people in here, minus the attorneys can't answer this, how many people have had their work put in front of a court or a judge? Been through depositions? Yes. Okay. So any shortcut that you took, like, oh my gosh, I was too tired to put in those notes, or oh, I forgot to take the notes, or oh, I didn't do this, or I didn't do that, or I sent an unprofessional email because I was just having one of those days. Those are the things that will be brought to light when you have to turn in your file. When discovery happens and you have to turn it all in and lay all your cards on the table, those are the things that they're going to use against your client. The one thing you did not document. So, all right. Have you ever seen discovery? Have you ever seen a carrier's file on one of your claims? Have you ever seen their version of it? Because, oh my gosh, they are documenting everything, and it is black and white, north and south, whatever you want to call it. It is the exact opposite of everything you're writing down, everything you're saying, everything you're doing. It is the opposite. That's what they're documenting. So if you're not documenting on the side of your client, they have nothing. So someone said this earlier too. One of my examples, this happens all the time. I tried contacting Christina at PSA for weeks with no response. This guy was trying to schedule an adjuster meeting. This all came out in discovery, and it was a big deal during deposition. Evidence, our file, where it wasn't documented that he tried calling us. We were actually trying to call them. Our attorney subpoenaed the actual phone records from this guy, and let me tell you, he is an owner of one IA firm and works for another one. He has 6 phones that were able to be subpoenaed. He called our office 2 times in a row on a Thursday night, did not leave a message. But without our record, it would have looked like he called for weeks trying to find Christina. So the record, like that's little tiny example, but that is what we do all day, every day. Your record matters. It is the one thing that will save your client in the end. All right. Oh, yeah. Any questions about any of that?
Are you guys in Ohio?
We are in Ohio. We are all over like the north part of the Midwest. Yep. So Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, and then we move to the south. But yeah, we are in Ohio. Christina is one of the staff. She's actually from Ohio. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to her.
Have you had any problems after the process with the attorneys taking your file?
Oh no, absolutely not. So any state, big or small, like literally any attorney will take our file, and even a Job Nimbus file, because that's it's contracting software. I didn't know that when I started. That's how much I didn't know, and I turned it into this PA thing. It works really well. But no, I've never had an attorney turn down one of my files ever in any state. Okay, so one of the reasons that I was super excited to be here, almost all of these conferences and education and all the big speakers and everything, it's always in the South. It's always in Texas, Louisiana, Florida, et cetera, et cetera. And this one is 30 miles from our main office. And in a short amount of time, we've gone from 1 state to 9 states. Now with the merger, 17 states. That's why we're so tired. And stuff like that. And people have reached out, newer PAs, whatever, and what's the secret? How do we do this? How do you grow? And and sometimes my husband, I'm always up here running my mouth about what we do and how we do it. But if you all don't mind, seriously, my team most of them are here, and without them, none of this works. They are the process. They are highly educated, highly trained. I mean, some of them are still kind of new, but we have the process. It's all in writing. They can come in and learn it. So real quick, I'm not sure if y'all just want to walk up here individually. So Christina Muha has been with me the longest. She is my lead public adjuster. Excuse me. Come on. And she came to us. She was an insurance agent, for 20-some years. After that, Kayla Wallace, she's a public adjuster. She's my office manager. She's the one who, when I wrote my notes the day before this, I'm like, called and said, can you please turn this into a slideshow?
Yesterday.
Yeah, while she's trying to close the office. Blake Thorne, I mean, he has a resume of, I don't even know, it would take a whole speech just to get through his resume. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. Actually, he is newer with my team, but we're super lucky to have him. Erica Nabhan is a public adjuster. She is one of our lead estimators. She's been to Steve Harmon's class a couple times. And yeah, she's been estimating with us for almost 3 years. Haley Walzak is a public adjuster. She's a retired firefighter, fire lieutenant, paramedic, and registered nurse. These two are both my daughters, I have to say that, because I'm so proud of them. Okay. They hate it when I say that. I have Joey Bliley. He's a public adjuster. He's a firefighter, EMT, OSHA safety specialist, and he is in estimating. Sarah Stafford, she is a retired teacher with a master's in education. She's a public adjuster, and she's in charge of our educational development. Mark Walzak. He is a public adjuster. He does our field inspections. He's with us part-time. He is still a firefighter, fire lieutenant, paramedic, and does our field inspections. Brandon Delk, public adjuster, field inspector, adjuster meetings. He has a great relationship with the carrier staff. He is the nice that y'all were talking about. And he is sales and commercial sales. Catherine Wallace does intake, contracts, mortgage endorsements, all the yucky stuff no one else wants to do. And then more recently, Tobias Patch. I don't know if he's even still in the room, but Tobias Patch, together with, did I forget someone?
No.
Oh my God, Jennifer Mueller. She is public adjuster and registered nurse, and my sister. But anyway, I am so sorry. I saw you get up, I thought I had you, and then I lost you. I am so sorry. And then now we have Worldwide Adjusters. So Tobias Patch, he was the original CEO of Worldwide. Sarah Patch is our Chief Strategic Officer. Jessica Odell, Chief of Operations. Elizabeth Benjamin is in Germany is software management. Macon is down in Florida running inspections right now. And then we have PA assistants, contents, and other remote staff. So I just wanted to take a moment because, I've spoken all over the place now, and without them, there's nothing for me to talk about. So thank you.